That's some eating problem. Can I put the chair in?
Yes, yes, sure.
Sir, can you sit over there with everybody else, please? I said I am eating problem. Oh, yeah, you can put a chair.
So good evening, everyone. Can you, yeah, can you hear? Yeah. Welcome and thank you for joining tonight um, on this particular subject, dealing with fear. Mm. So before I engage in the actual uh, talk itself, maybe I would like to start with a short breathing exercise, mindful breathing exercise to help to bring our mind in moment present and to quiet our mind and then trying to have good motivation, intention for being here. Okay. So make yourself comfortable, comfortable and relax. And feel the weight of your body on cushions or chair. And as you breathe in and out naturally, just try to just watch the breath and be aware of that. Once your mind is settled down, we can reflect and contemplate. Life is very short. Things can happen very quickly. Life can come to end very quickly. Therefore, whatever remaining lifespan we might have, it's better to use it more meaningful way, more beneficial way. And the way to make our life more meaningful and more beneficial is to work with our own mind. So we have less disturbing negative emotions, which are the root of our unhappiness. And also, when you have less disturbing negative emotions, we can be more help and beneficial to more other beings. Also, we do not hurt and harm others much. We do less harm to others when you have less those negative disturbing emotions. So reducing them is helpful, beneficial for yourself to others. In increasing those helpful, beneficial state of minds are good for you and good for others. And may I ask all coming here to listen and engage in discussions and reflect and contemplating. May all of this become cause and condition to achieve our highest potential the fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help and benefit to oneself and others. Okay. So today's evening's talk, as you all are aware, is we're going to talk about dealing with anger. No, that could be also thing. Dealing with fear. Okay, and if we observe our life and our experience, you know, fear is one of feeling or emotions that is quite frequently arising in our everyday life, day-to-day life, you know. That is one of, um, yeah, very common or frequent uh, feeling or emotions um, that arises. As long as there is expectation of hope, there is going to be fear, you know, and we have a lot of hope and expectation in our life all the time, you know, and when there is that, on the other side of that, the fear, you know, arises. Mm. Fearful can be, in generally, we can say there are two types of fear: healthy fear, unhealthy fear, if we can say, you know. The healthy fear are something because of the fear, it inspire us to take actions, you know, and to stop from something happening. The fear lead to you know, the solutions to the problems, remedy for the problems, you know. For example, in some people's cases, you know, when they have some problem issue with addictions, whether it's a drinking or other substance, you know, and sometimes they have difficult of giving up, overcoming it. But sometimes they reach a point where there's so much fear of either they are going to get extremely very bad sick all their rest of life or dying. That fear kind of turned them around, you know, that that fear that I don't want to die or I don't want to be sick like that they might have just heard, seen someone or something came and they see that is horrible, and I don't want to get sick horrible in that state. I don't want to die in that such state. And that fear of not wanting to be in that state kind of give them that kind of, you know, the power. or the inspirations to overcome it and fight against it. And through that, then, they are able to kind of come out of it, come out of it, you know. That is health. That is what I call healthy fear. Because of that fear, it make you to take actions and to come out of that problem, that pain, that suffering that you have been struggling before. You know, there was something can be done, and that fear lead you to do that, to to overcome that. You know, um, in evolutions, and it's still for the animals too. And for us also to throughout evolutions. The fear was that helped to survive. And because the fear, the animal, especially those in, wild world, they are more attentive, they are more careful. And because of those attentive and careful, they are able to kind of protect themselves or escape or run from being attacked and for their survivals, you know. Um, so those are, those are what I call positive or healthy fear, you know. From a spiritual point of view, fear of samsara is a healthy, beneficial, positive. Because we can get out of samsara, but at the moment we don't have that strong inspirations or strong enthusiasm to get out of the samsara because we don't have that strong fear of samsara. We are comfortable with the samsara. We are not fearful of samsara. We are very comfortable with the samsara. Because we are so comfortable with the samsara, we are not so fearful. So then it doesn't give you driving force, strong mental inspiration or power or driving force to really work hard to get out of there. And therefore, we are still stuck in samsara. Therefore, we are still stuck in samsara. But if we have a very strong fear of that, then that will give you a very, very strong inspiration, aspirations, or the willpower, or the enthusiasm, um, the driving force, sense of to really, put effort um, and focus um, to free from that state, to get out of from that state. You know, if there is no way to free from the samsara, then being fearful is an unhealthy and negative fear. You have fear of samsara, but if there's nothing you can do about it, there's no way you can get out of samsara. If there's no way you can free from samsara, then having a fear is useless and meaningless and unhealthy. You know, same. Even in terms of our ordinary life. Fear of the normal fear of aging and death. You know, is unhealthy, unnecessary. You know, unhealthy fear, unnecessary, useless fear, because you cannot stop aging and death. There's nothing you can do about it. If you live enough, there's nothing that can stop from aging and death. So something you cannot do anything about, that you cannot solve, you cannot stop, then thinking about it and, you know, giving too much thought on that, giving too much thought on basis of that and being fearful is unhealthy, unnecessary, or useless fear, that only make your life more kind of miserable, unhappy because of that fear and worry. On the other hand, the fear of dying without practicing the Dharma or without preparing yourself well, that is a healthy fear and a good one. Because you can prepare, because, due to that fear, because you don't want to die without being prepared, because you don't want to die without having practiced the Dharma, and that fear inspire you, that fear give you the enthusiasm to practice the Dharma and to prepare yourself before death comes. That is healthy because that is something you can do by having that fear. Then you can actually start preparing, and that is something you can prepare. That is something you can do, and that is, you know, the other fear of dying and aging is the ordinary unhealthy fear. But the fear of dying without having to prepare yourself, the fear of dying yourself without having to, practice yourself, those are more positive, healthy fear because of that fear, then it can inspire, that can drive you, that can give you enthusiasm, um, inner forces, to really practice um, before the death comes, you know. So you are prepared, and when the death comes, you have less regret, less feeling of guilt, less regret, you know, less bitterness, less upset, anger, you know, about your own life, um, about others, um, other beings or the world itself, because sometimes when the life is not easy and challenging, and when we have difficulty with dealing with those challenges and pain and suffering and difficulties, that can lead to a lot of frustration, a lot of bitterness. And those frustration and bitterness could be directed to a different, sometimes it could be directed on yourself, sometimes it could be directed on your own life, sometimes it could be directed with someone else, it could be directed on the situation in itself in general. But there could be all these kind of very strong those feelings. And when we have all those feelings, then it makes your life even more miserable, even more unhappy. Even at the time of day when you have those feelings, then you also struggle to have more peaceful transitions. Instead of being able to transit the next stages peacefully, you have all these struggles because of those feelings, emotions. Um, but if someone has started preparing themselves with different practice, meditations, how to deal with those different emotions and all of that, you have the tools to deal with that when it arises, you know. First of all, maybe those emotions will not arise for highly trained um, practitioners, beings, and even someone who had not reached very high, even those arises, they are not so strong, intense. They don't arise so often. And for others, even it does arises, even it does manifest. At least we have the tool to deal with them, that it doesn't get out of control. You know, you have the tools, the means to way to deal with them positively, because you have learned and practiced and trained yourself all this method, all these different meditative method practice. And so in Dharma, in Buddhism, we talk a lot about meditation on death impermanence, you know. And one of the reasons to kind of meditate on that death impermanent is not to produce kind of the ordinary fear of death and aging, because that's nothing, but it's more of having that positive fear of that dying without making your life meaningful, without practicing the Dharma, without being prepared well, because that is something we can do about it. It's something that we can do about it, you know. And we can apply that same in every situation, you know. You might be going through certain situations in your life, you know, on a personal life, or maybe not so much personal, but maybe as a citizen of this country itself or the world itself, due to certain changes, circumstance. And is again, think about it. If you are fearful about something, if you are worried about something, is there something can be done? It is some solution. If there's something can be done, if you feel and if you see that there's something can be done, something can be something can be fixed, something can be done, then as since there is a remedy for the problems, since there is a solution to the problem, instead of thinking too much about it, you start acting. You start acting to bring the change. You start acting to bring the change and to fix the problem. Instead of not acting and then allowing our mind to go crazy, thinking so many things, so many other things, and this and that, all that. That doesn't change. You have to act. You have to act to bring the positive change if you want to see the change. And so, um, allowing our mind to go all over and think too much and not acting is not helpful. That doesn't bring the change, and it is just you are just creating pain and miserable and problem for yourself. That's all. There's no benefit of that. But you have fear about something, and then because of that, then it forces you to act to bring change. Then change could happen. Change is possible, and then that's something positive. On the other hand, when we see whatever's done is done, nothing can change that. You know, we can learn from past, We can move forward certain way, but sometimes whatever has happened, happened, and that cannot be reversed and changed. And in that case, there is no remedy to reverse it. And in such cases, again, since there is no remedy or problem or solution to reverse it, there's no point of being wary and fearful about that something. And so again, so that is how we can try to apply that in every situations that when fear arises. That is the great Indian master Shanti Deva, as he said in his Guided Both of Life, you know, as also his own Dalai Lama, he also said he find that verse very helpful, and he also use that very much in his own practice, and that is what we just discussed. You know, when we have something very fearful of something, see whether there is solution to it or not. If you see there is solutions, remedy to that, act. There's no point of waiting and being fearful. Instead, try to act to bring the change. If you analyze and when you don't see any kind of solution, remedy to that problem, there's no point of waiting and fear because it's useless. It's just you are wasting your energy, your time. Mm. Because you can think, you can worry, you can have fear, but there's nothing you can do about it. So it's just waste of your time and energy. Unworth is not worthwhile. It's meaningless. And the fear arises, you know, I, as I mentioned at the very beginning, you know, we have so much fear in our life, we have fear of losing our loved ones, we have fear of, losing the job if you like it, you know, we have fear of our health, you know, not being healthy, getting sick, you know, we have fear of, our financial insecurities, you know, and also sometimes we have fear of, you know, also, you know, if we have good relationship, the fear of, something happening to such relationship, that will change of the relationship, you know. And as I said before, fear of aging, fear of death, fear of losing your fame, reputations, you know, fear of losing your power if you have powers, losing of your wealth, you know, losing the fear of, you know, being judged, fear of criticisms, fear of others disliking you, not liking you, not loving you, basically, fear of facing what you don't like and not getting what you like or what you want. The fear of, not getting what you like what you want, you know, and the fear of facing or encountering something that you don't like and you don't want, you know. And so those are some of the fears, you know. These are only some of the fears, you know, not every fear that we go through. There's so many. So constantly, if we are not fearful of something, we are fearful of something. You know. So our life is driven by fear so much, so much. And from Buddhist point of view, the fear, the cause of the fear is our own mind. You know, the fear comes from our own mind. You know, the fear is result of our own certain state of mind. Such as, you know, in you see in many of the Buddhist practice or prayers, you know, about describing about 16 fears, 8 fears, you know, internal 8 fears, then external fears, internal fears, you know, in terms of internal fears, and those are the, you know, um, the fear of pride, you know, fear of attachments, fear of anger, the fear of ignorance, the fear of mercilessness, the fear of, you know, delusional doubt, you know, the fear of wrong views, you know. So there, those are the internal, you know. So if we are, if we are fearful, then we should be fearful about those, those negative emotions. If there is something to be fearful of, then we should be more fearful of those negative emotions because they are the very root of our present fear and all other worry and miserable. They are the cause of many other afflictive emotions that disturb your inner peace, joy, and they are the cause of creating unwholesome negative karma, which bring more suffering, pain in the futures. They are the cause of harming to others. You know, due to those emotions, then we hurt and harm others. We bring more pain and suffering to others. So they are the one which cause of our own suffering and cause of suffering for others. If there is something that we need to be fearful, then those are the ones we should be more fearful of, more than anything else. Mm? Yeah. No. Pride, delusional pride, sense of superiority. You know, when you have that kind of sense of superiority, and when you kind of this way of looking others less and treating them not equal, but more kind of less because you feel they are inferior. You are more superior due to that delusional pride, you know, where when that mind regard yourself and more important, more superior than others. And again, that kind of delusional pride is harmful to yourself, harmful to others. When you have that kind of sense of superiority and feel others inferior, then you are superior, others less, then you treat them more in that way. You have that kind of attitude and you treat them in that way, you hurt and harm others. And it also hurt and harm yourself, you know, on spiritual level and also on general level. If you have that kind of sense of pride, delusional pride and sense of superiority, you know, people wouldn't like you from their heart. And if people dislike you, you will be unhappy. You know, if people dislike you, then they will talk bad about you. You know, and we don't like being people talking bad about us. We don't like others disliking us. And when you know that someone dislike you, others are talking bad about you, it hurts you. You know, it brings pain, suffering. So it's cause of your suffering. That's what it's cause for others. Immediately, and then of course, out of that, when you act, then you create negative action, unwholesome actions. As a result, we suffer also in the futures. An antidote to reduce is practicing humility. The practice, the humility and humbleness, humility, being more grounded. Anger is one of the most powerful, destructive, negative emotions. You know, and it is one of those strong, powerful, disturbing negative emotions. When someone is in a rage, such a strong anger and rage, where they become crazy and act crazy, takes others' lives, sometimes like they take their own life, sometimes take the life of very people who they care and love. How many do we see, hear stories? In out of that one rage and anger, they take the lives of someone they love so much, you know. And then in some cases taking these are of course quite kind of extreme. But again, even it's not so extreme. We know when you are angry, you know, how much your mind is disturbed, how much your peaceful mind is your peace is taken away by that mind, anger in that moment, you know. In terms of hurting others, again, you know, one of the most destructive when you're angry, that's when we hurt others. You know. It, so it harms others, it harms you. And then not only in that moment, it hurts and harms you, but also you create negative karma and again, you know, experience more suffering in the future as well. So the counteracting inner force for that is patience and loving kindness, compassion. Mm. miserliness, when you have that stingy mind or miserliness mind, you know, where you become very insecure to let it go and to give, to practice giving or generosity. When you feel insecure of that, again, when you have that stingy, miserliness mind, externally you might be poor, not poor, rich, but internally you have this poor mentality. That is what the stingy and miserliness mind is. Externally you might not be poor, but internally you have this poor mentality. And so in a way you are poor on a mental level. You know. As Shantideva said, this attitude of this kind of feeling insecure, the attitude of what will be left for me if I give this to others. That is the feeling of insecurity and miserliness and stinginess. What will be left for me if I give to others, this one to others? That is very ordinary selfish attitude. On others, the bodhisattva's attitude is if I enjoy this myself, if I use this myself, what will be left for me to give to someone? If I enjoy this myself, if I use this myself, I wouldn't be left anything to give to someone. That is bodhisattva attitude. That is selfless attitude. And that is rich attitude. Regardless externally whether you are poor or rich, mentally you are very rich, abundance, sense of abundance. And so therefore, when you have that kind of attitude, sense of not insecurity and sense of poor attitude, but sense of abundant and rich attitude, you are happy. You feel you are rich, even if you have very little. Externally, you might have very little, but in your mind, you feel you have so much. You have a lot. You feel you are rich. Mm. And again, delusional doubt, is another of those mental factors of those. And I use delusional doubt. I believe there can be a positive doubt and negative doubt. And delusional doubt is the negative doubt. The positive doubt is, you don't believe everything that you see, everything you hear, you know, everything you think, you know, you analyze because you have doubt. You know, what I saw, is that real or not? What I heard, is that real or not? What I'm thinking, is that true or not? You know, so because of your doubt of not believing just because you saw something, just because you heard something, just because someone says something, just because, you know, investigating yourself. That doubt helped you to explore, investigate more, to find the truth, to go to the very truth, very root. That kind of doubt is healthy doubt, helpful doubt. That is needed, you know. And that is what also Buddha's encourage. Buddha himself said, don't believe because I say so to his student, disciple. Don't take it and believe because I say so. Investigate thoroughly, just as the goldsmith will investigate very thoroughly the the quality of the gold with three different way of analyzing it. In the same way, you analyze what I said with three reasonings, logics. And if what I says can withstand all this reason, logic makes sense, you accept it. If it doesn't, you don't have to accept because I said so. Whereas the delusional doubt is, you hear something, you saw something, and you think something, or you read something. Instead of exploring more, now you have doubt, and then that just shut down yourself. Do you get it? We hear something, we saw something, and then you started to have doubt about something. And then that doubt kind of lead you to kind of close your mind from going further and trying to understand, investigating, analyzing, uh, you know. And a lot of time, again, that happens, you know. So that kind of, because that kind of doubt, then, stop you from learning, growing, you know, um, becoming more, you know, knowledge, cultivating more knowledge, more wisdom, more experience, and more enlightened. And so that kind of uh, doubt is not something healthy. Mm. Another negative is jealousy. Oh, okay. So doubt, the the antidote to the doubt, you know, mm, is the correct understanding, correct understanding of the whether it's external, internal situations, experience, um, objects, mm, by analyzing, by investigating um, more thoroughly, you know, by analyzing, investigating, examining more thoroughly, and then, as you do more thorough examination, investigation, analyze, the more better understanding you have, the more greater understanding you have, the more greater understanding you have, the less you have doubt about that. Jealousy is another negative emotions, you know. So all of those negative emotions, not only they are negative emotions, they all give to fear as well. And jealousy is another, you know, not being happy with someone's success, someone's happiness, someone's virtue, someone's something positive, you know. By having jealousy, it makes your mind unhappy, but it doesn't change your situation, you know, because you have jealous with someone with something about their success or whatever, their wealth, their happiness, um, whatever it might be, their knowledge, their wisdom, their fame, their relation, whatever, it doesn't come to you. It doesn't make any difference in you, but it make your mind, it make you unhappy, miserable. You know. Mm. And then the antidote toward the jealousy is, rejoicing, rejoicing in the success of others, rejoicing in the virtues of others, rejoicing in the happiness of others, rejoicing in the positive good things that happens in others. And when you rejoice, you are happy about that. So, and then there is reason to be happy every day, all the time, because there is always something to rejoice. There's always something to rejoice of someone, someone's happiness, someone's success, someone's virtue, someone's goodness. At the moment, we cannot rejoice to everyone's success, joy, and happiness. And so we don't have always reason to be happy. Wrong views, one of another negative emotions. Again, the view of love, that there is no law of cause and effect, you know, that our action do not have consequences, you know, view or belief that your action doesn't have consequences, you know, there is no law of cause and effect, you know. So the belief or view that your unwholesome actions do not have consequences of undesirable experience of suffering. The belief and view that your wholesome actions, virtuous actions, has no consequences of, you know, desirable, um, joyful experience, more joyful, happy experience. And that's the wrong view. You know. And then if you have that wrong view, then we are more likely to not pay attention and mindful and careful and pay attention to our actions. You know. But when we understand that every physical actions has consequences, every verbal action has consequences, every thought has consequences, we will be more careful, more mindful, more aware of what we say, what we do, what we think. Mm. So the antidote is the understanding of law of cause and effect. Understanding the law of cause and effect. Understanding the wisdom, understanding the law of cause and effect would be the antidote for that. Mm. And then last, from those eight, among those eight that is described, is attachments. No, attachment, and then last one, ignorance. Yeah. And attachment, is that you see certain objects as a desirable, attractive. On the basis of seeing that objects as something desirable, something attractive, then you have strong kind of holding it very tightly, clinging, grasping, not wanting to let it go. You know, that is the attachments. You know, and when there is attachments, there is expectations. When there is expectations, there's fear, as I said. When there's expectation, there's always fear. And when there is attachment, there's always expectations. So even though all different negative emotions that we all discuss, just even though all of those can give rise to the fear, but one of the main one is the attachment. If we look in our life, all the fear we have in our life. Why I'm fearful over that? Check it out. You know, watch yourself. Analyze yourself. If we are fearful of something, why am I so fearful of that? Why? You know, maybe I don't want to lose something, you know, and because I'm not just because I don't want to lose it, because I'm very attached to it. You know, we might have a lot of things in our life which we might not want to lose it, but some we regard very valuable, some we don't regard so valuable. Those you regard less valuable, you will have less fear of losing them. The more you value and you feel precious and the more you have grasping and attachment, the more fearful you have losing them. Check it out. You know, I don't think you will have a fearful of, you know, losing your garbage. You know, probably we have a lot of things that maybe we are kind of ready to kind of get rid of. It's not garbage, but it's kind of, you have used it. I'm done, no more interest. Like I used to have no more kind of enjoyment, interest that so you are ready to kind of and you don't have so much fear of that. Breaking that down, losing that down, because your attachment is gone. There's less attachment to that object now. When you first bought it, because there's strong attachments, you know, you have much more fear of losing it, much more fear of breaking it down, damaging it, something going wrong with that. It's the same objects. It's the same objects. What made it you are so fearful before of losing it, not anymore fearful of losing it. It's the same objects because now you have less attachment to it. Before you have strong attachment to it. That was the why. The object hasn't changed. It's the same objects. It's the same objects and has the same functionings. But your attachment have reduced now. You don't have strong attachment to it as you had attachment at the very beginning. And because of that, you have less fear. So therefore, when you look back, it's quite clear. it's quite clear. Where there is attachment, there is expectation. Where there's expectation, there's always fear. There's always fear. So the antidote to attachments, meditation on impermanent nature of the objects, um, as well as, you know, that impermanent of oneself, you know, um, as well as, meditating on, the nature of samsara, meditating on, how there's no real essence in that objects, that in sense that it cannot really give you true happiness, lasting happiness, you know. Instead, you know, um, all these contaminated objects and experience, they are actually in the nature of sufferings. Right. So, contemplating, meditating on that can help to reduce the attachments, and less attachment, less expectation, expectation, less fear. No attachment doesn't mean no affections and no true love and compassion. We have to differentiate those two things. You can have true love, true compassion, true affections, empathy, your loved ones and others, but it doesn't have to be attachment. You know, Mm. Attachment is the negative, whereas true love, compassion, and positive, that is healthy. You know, that is the cause of happiness for yourself and others, whereas attachment is cause of suffering for yourself and others. When you have attachments, you become more controlling, more possessive. You know, that attachment make that person more possessive with the objects, more controlling with the objects. You know, and then again, that is not healthy and good for the others and for yourself, and not good in a relationship as too. When someone is trying to be too controlling and too possessive, that doesn't become good basis, foundation for good lasting relationship. On the other hand, when you don't have, you know, so strong attachment, jealousy, you know, you will have better relationship, more stable relationship, you know. Mm. And then finally, the ignorance, that's one. And, ignorance is the root of other delusion, all the other delusion that we just talked about, attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, miserliness, wrong view, you know, attachment, all of them are very much rooted in the ignorance. They all arise from the ignorance, the fundamental ignorance. And overcoming the ignorance, the antidote to overcome ignorance is the, correct understanding or realizations of dependent arising, emptiness, ultimate true nature of ultimate true nature of the mind, self, and all phenomena. So those are a little bit related with what you call the eighth stage of fear that you see, like in praise to the Taras, like overcoming, praying to protect from the eight fears, external fear, internal fears of those delusions. And Tara is known to be the liberator who liberates from those fears and so forth. Mm. So that is a little bit kind of related with that. In coming to the fear itself, dealing with the fear itself, you know. I think there are many different practice meditation that could be helpful overcome fear. And again, different meditation, different practice might be more effective to different peoples, depending on their understanding and acceptance of certain. Um, for me, sometimes I find um, meditating and accepting the karma help. One time, I was flying. I don't remember. I think it was Nepal. One of these small plane, windy, up down like this, and the mountains, you know, very close. And you look from the window, suddenly it feel like, wow. If something happened, they wouldn't even find the body. Um, all these rugged mountains, and suddenly fear arises in that moment. Suddenly I recognize the fear. you know. Um, and then I started to contemplate. And then if my karma is to die today, I can be just walking on the street and I could have accident. I could be just in my house and trying to eat something and I can choke and die. If my karma is not to die today, this shouldn't be, even when there's so much turbulence or wind, or it should, because the pilots fly this flight all the times or most time, and they have been okay. So so contemplating that and then believing in my karma in that way kind of reduce my fear in that moment. And that I find that also many other situations like that I use. Sometimes fear arises because of certain things, of possibility of something happening and all of that. And then of course you try to do what you can, but like in that when I'm flying, there's nothing I can do about it. And there are certain situations in our life, that whatever is, there are certain things, as we mentioned also at the very beginning, certain things that we can change. And if there is something that can be changed, we have to act to bring that change. But there are certain things that there's nothing we can do about it. As I say, like aging and death and all of that, and so many other things. And in those cases, then again, for me, well, you know, there's nothing I can do. If my karma is to be that way, so be it.
Mm.
If my karma is not to have that, then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to be fearful about it. That is my way of dealing, and it helped for me. But it helped for everyone. Of course, you need to have also understanding and believe in karma for this to kind of work for someone. Um, Same with illness, sometimes uh, you know, the doctor cannot figure out what is problem. They see some problem, but they cannot figure out what that is, And of course, there's all the possibility, and you can be very fearful about what it might be and all, you know, but there's nothing you can do about it. Of course, you trust the doctors and whatever they advise and on their finding everything. But other than that, you try to follow that and try to do that. But instead of waiting, maybe is this, it might be this all the time, and fear and worry all the time. I just leave it to my karma. Of course, trust in my karma and believe that is if that is what is supposed to be, so be it. It doesn't mean that you don't take action. You see the doctor, you try to follow their advice, you try to do things they want you to do and think, but not allow your mind to kind of go crazy and thinking all other bad things, all horrible things that you can have. You can your mind can go there and instead just, if my karma is something bad things happen, then so then that is what it is, you know. And so again, I personally find that have found helpful, beneficial in my life, dealing with that. Um, also, meditating, meditating and on refuge can be also helpful for certain individuals, you know, having a strong trust and faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha or the Guru or the Buddha or deities, when things are going tough, difficult, or having a fear about a lot of things because unknown, uncertainty, unknown. When it's something unknown, uncertainty, we tend to have more fear, not knowing. And again, sometimes we can't do anything about that. And then when someone has strong faith and trust in like Buddha Dhamma Sangha or someone, it gives them hope and and give them hope and more positive and less fearful, trusting in that. You know, it's like we don't have control, but then there is someone that who has higher than yourself, high power, who has more power than yourself, that can having a trust in that power can give help to be less fear. Again, and a lot of practitioners, I think, through spiritual practitioners from all different spiritual paths, they have found in such situations by having the trust and belief and faith in someone higher power, they have found helpful in their life dealing with those situations, the fear, worries, when they're going through a lot of challenges, those has been source of hope and overcoming those, reducing the fear, overcoming the fear, you know. So that can be another. Mm. And I said before, reducing and this eliminating those afflictive emotions, which are the source of those fears, such as attachments, you know, less expectations, less fear, less attachments, less expectation, less fear. If we can overcome the attachments and expectation that come through because of that attachment, then there is no more fear that arises from that. So again, going back to the root of that fear, going back to the root of fear, you know. So the root of that fear, expectation, which is rooted in attachments, and so then working with the attachment, how to reduce and eliminate that attachment. The more you are able to do that um, with the different practice meditations, that you have less fear. Also meditating on, emptiness of the fear itself, and what is the fear that I feel so strong? What is it? What is it? You know, doing that kind of analyze examinations. Um, does it has color, shape, size? Is it physical, non-physical? What is it? What is it? When you try to do that before you feel so strong, almost like tangible, when you that analyze, it becomes less and less tangible. It becomes more and more unclear. It becomes less, and when that, then your intensity of feeling is so strong before fear, whatever, become less. So meditation on emptiness or the fear itself, or meditation on the emptiness of fear itself, you know, meditation on the emptiness of the object of the fear, and meditation emptiness of yourself who is experiencing the fear. Who is I? What is I who is experiencing the fear? Where is that I? Who is that I that is experiencing the fear? Is it my physical aggregate? Is it my mental aggregate? Is it outside my aggregates? What is it? Where is it? So when you do that kind of analysis, again, before you feel so strongly there is someone, I, who is experiencing this fear, very strong, kind of concrete, solid I, and who is experiencing that fear, which also seems so solid. But when you do that analysis, then, it dissolves that solidity, that concrete, and as you do that kind of analysis, and then you started to reduce the intensity of the fear in that. If you can do that, strong, correct meditation on emptiness of fear itself, it will dissolve. If you can do that also on yourself, emptiness of yourself, also the fear can be dissolved. Because you see there's no real self that is experiencing the fear. And when you see that, or when you feel that, then again, the fear. Yeah, I often cannot do that or do so, but like there are times when I've done that, and when it's successful in your practice meditation, that then the fear that you are feeling very strongly before is gone in a few minutes. you know, so again, um, yeah, meditation on that can be helpful, beneficial, Mm. Meditation on, yeah, watching the fear itself mindfully, you know, without so much judgment, without neither embracing or neither trying to push away. But just when fear arises, just recognizing, being aware, recognizing that, and not entertaining the fear. And if you don't entertain that, the fear arises and goes very quickly. It doesn't stay. It doesn't become intense and long. It's a momentary because each of those feeling, emotion are momentary. Even though we feel like it is not momentary because it feel like I've been having this feeling for 1 hour, one whole day, one whole week, one whole month, one whole year, or 10 years. Even though we feel like it is that one emotions or feeling that we haven't experienced. Actually, if you really see each of them momentary, and we feel that because there's a continuity, because we give the fuel for the continuity. If you don't give the fuel for the continuity, it's just like a spark. It's a spark of fire. But the problem is then on the spark of fire, then we started to add wood, kerosene again and again, again and again, and that fire can go for hours, days, weeks, months, and we can keep that fire for years and years, even though it's momentary like that, because we give the fuel continually. And that is what happens. We feel like it's same because we have been giving the fuel to it, and then there's the continuity of that, you know. But actually, if we learn not to give that fuel, then it's just a momentary, comes and goes, comes and goes. So it doesn't um, become so strong and intense and remain long durations. You know. And sometimes, also when you're dealing with, you know, also fear, just concentrating on the breath instead of allowing your mind to go run after the fear. When the fear arises, instead of allowing your mind to follow the fear and go think about that, just concentrate on your breath. And when you're able to concentrate very good at it, well, then you are able to bring your mind back to that and not to follow the fear and again not to keep that fear alive. And, and you can do washing breath, you can do, um, sometime, reciting the mantras, focusing on the mantras, focusing on the visualization or image. Basically is a method to keep your mind in that with that object so your mind doesn't kind of run after the fear and all different thoughts that give fuel to that thoughts that give thoughts to those to fuel that fear so that it become more strong, intense, or long. So again, those are some of the practice meditation one can apply. So there are so many different practice meditation tools, and we just have to find out what tools in meditation work better for us. As I said, certain practice, certain meditation might be more powerful for someone or find more powerful for someone, whereas for someone else, they might not find that meditation as effective to them as someone other person found effective. So again, learning different, learning different meditation practice and trying those different meditation and practice and with our own experience, seeing which one is more effective to me, what works for me, what is more powerful. And then based on that, then we try to kind of apply that particular meditation technique. In yeah, so I think that is all. I can take a couple of questions if anyone has any questions or anything to share. Anything. Yes, please.
Thank you. Um, could you explain more the difference for the, I know there's a difference between attachment with love or for someone you love, but how to help rid yourself of that attachment and yet continue to feel a deep love,
Mm-hmm.
especially, like in marriage and
Yeah,
that sort of.
yeah. Marriage, all your children's, or parent, all, I think.
Because the fear of loss is, and I don't even just mean in death, but like change
Yeah,
or that sort of thing.
yeah. True love and compassion arises or is built on the needs of others, whereas attachment is based on needs of oneself. That is one difference, big difference. True love, compassion is they do not want suffering, they want happiness, and they have right to be happy, and they have right to not to suffer on the basis of that because they do not wish suffer because they want happiness, and for on the basis of that is built their wishes, their inspirations. Whereas attachments is, you know, they can be helpful to me, they are related with me, you know, they are biologically related with me. I give birth to them, or they gave birth to me, or we have this biological, it's called an emotional relationship with me, or that he or she was helpful, beneficial, or will be helpful, beneficial, or will take care of, or he or she is some kind of my comfort, or give me comfort, give me some kind of um, companion, whatever, those. So it come from, your birth, your needs. So that is one big difference. Yeah. Yes, please.
So you mentioned earlier one of the sort of ways that you can work to fight against your anger is mantras. Is there a particular mantra that you would recommend to kind of combat fear?
Mm-hmm. I would think the mantra of compassion, or Mani Padme Hum, can be because anger and compassion are two opposing um, inner energies, and so the recitation of the mantra, using the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, the Buddha of compassion, can help us to develop the true loving kindness and compassion, and that could act as a counter, um, yeah, counting or countering energy towards the anger. So that will, yeah.
Thank you.
So you can visualize. If you can visualize, you can visualize the Avalokiteshvara, and then from his heart and Garlic mantra as you recite in a white light nectar flow into yourself and cleansing and purifying, um, all the illness, negative karma, all the delusion, especially if you are dealing with anger, the anger being kind of cleans, purify, heals. It's like the dirt of the anger being washed away, with that wisdom and compassion energy of that light and nectar that flow. It is the wisdom and compassion, but it manifests in the form of light and nectar, and that kind of heal and cleanse and wash away that anger. And then you want visualize receiving the non-anger with true love, compassion. All the spiritual realization, especially true love, compassion, because at the moment that is what dealing with anger, that will be the main one. So yeah, one can use that. If we use the mantra for that, yeah. Yes, please.
Excuse me. When you were talking about delusional doubt, you said that the antidote for delusional doubt was correct understanding.
Mhm.
She said was investigation, examination, and analysis. How do you know? I guess that's gonna make sense. How do you know when you have done too much? What is you've done? When do you know you've done enough investigation or examination or analysis?
Yeah, that is good questions. We try to do examination, analysis as far as it can convince us when we feel there is enough reason, logic, proof for that, you know. And but maybe if later you feel there was not enough, then you can still do investigation. But a lot of times we have certain doubt and we are not so sure. And after doing some investigation analysis, we come to certain understanding conclusions. Um, you know, um, Sometimes even though we don't come to 100% what you call convince 100% convinced conclusion, but at least we have like made more than 50% of you know of when I compare those two different reason and logic, one to prove something else, the other to prove others. And this one doesn't have has some reason logic, but there's not enough reason and logic. This one has much more reason and logic compared to this one. So at the moment, I go with that. But in the future, if this comes out, this reason have to happen, then your mind should be always open. And that is like in monastery when you study. That is the form of studies in the way we engage in always debate. The form is debate. Um, you debate with your teachers. The teacher encourage you to debate. Um, and then in class, the whole class comes and then they debate. And so, your mind should be always open because when I go in the class, I might think, oh, this is what my understanding of something, the subject that we are discussing. I think I've done enough research myself, read enough commentary, uh, taught myself enough. This is what I believe the meaning of this. When I go in the class and someone will prove me wrong with more reason and logic, if I cannot withstand my stand, what I believe, if they destroy with their better reason and logic, I have to just give up. I have to let it go and then have different approach and think differently. And sometimes I might have that thinking this is what it is for 14 years, 15 years. After 15 years, someone comes, another student will come with a different reason, logic, and then it totally crushes down you. What you believe was wrong. And then you have to be open to that and to again consider that even though you have believed so strongly for that long, now there is um, someone with a better reason and logic that kind of proof that wasn't you couldn't withstand. And so your mind has always been our mind always have to be kind of open, while we at certain time we reach certain conclusion based on what evidence is there. And that I think that is also same with the science too. In this time, whatever evidence we follow that, but maybe after 20 years, 30 years, they might find different and prove that this was wrong. And we just have to go with that. And which has happened in so many different areas that where the science have taught certain things was that in the past, and now over sudden there's better understanding and more investigation, more technology, and all of that. They found that was not case to be, and so when that happens, then we kind of go with that, you know. So I think that is same also in other areas. Yeah,
Thank you.
my pleasure. Okay, so then we do the dedications, you know. So we dedicate all our virtues by coming here and um, listening, engaging, discussion, reflection. Due to all of that, may oneself and all sentient beings be able to actualize true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, wisdom realizing emptiness within our mind stream. Those who have already actualized, not to diminish, but increase more and more. And due to all these virtues, may we be able to achieve fully awakened state and lead all sentient beings free from their suffering and cause of suffering. Yawadi, Yududa, Lama Sangye, Dugyone, Yawa Chikamani, E Salago, Chanju Senjo Rinpoche, Magye Pano, Yawa Nyamba Meva, Kone Kondo, Yawa. Thank you, thank you. Good night, thank you, thank you, thank you, good night, thank you.